Episode, it's all about the wedding reception. It's one of those parts where it's not too tense compared to the wedding ceremony, but it's still very important. For the audio setup, it's still the same as the wedding ceremony. You still have the main cam or the TS, have the line in the mixer. You still need that backup audio for each one just in case. And still for the RS, you still have the microphone on top. Also, with the tripods, it's still the same. For the first two shooters, the main cam or the TS and the reaction shooter, it's always best to have tripod with them, especially for long takes. And for the creative shooter, his job is a little more tedious in terms of making creative shots work, especially for the dinner reception. So together with your tripods, a good 70 to 200 for the main cam and the reaction is best. For the ceremony, you have the usual things. But for the dinner reception, the program can sometimes change depending on the taste of the couple. Like some of them wants games, some of them wants more of like a production. And so if you know what's going to happen in the program, you will be able to know the positioning of your shooters and in which part should you emphasize, especially what is needed for the SDE. Now, it's best to be specific when you do reception details. Like, for instance, if you're the main cam, your focus is to make sure that the audio has been set up before everything actually starts. And so after you do that, you could be able to help the creative shooter in shooting the details inside the area. Like for instance, you're gonna get 100 mm on a monopod because your creative shooter is the one assigned for the wide shots. You instead are in charge for the details. You know, the name, the table numbers, the table setup. Those are the things that you could do creatively by using 100 mm and a monopod. Maximize how you're gonna use it by shifting your focus from one area to another, emphasizing both of them. Also, give a little bit of movement with your monopod. Have a little bit of LED on your side so that the lighting is better. Coordinate with the lights and sounds so that you don't get like this purple, reddish, greenish feel during the reception. Instead, you get that nice white balance that makes things look nicer at first. Always remember that your couple always wants a theme. And so with theme comes the light theme. In short, if she wants something, you know, fresh or blue, she would want the lighting to be like that also. So it's always good to tell your couple that whenever you're gonna be shooting details in the reception, give the cinematographers the freedom to change the light first and then change it back. Okay? Now, what about the RS? When the ceremony finishes, what happens to the guests? They go for cocktails to wait for the opening of the doors for the dinner reception. And someone needs to get shots of those people, and that will be the role of the reaction shooter. It's best to have them on a 70-100 on a monopod so that they're mobile, but at the same time, they can get shots of people laughing without being noticed. And sometimes, inside the cocktail area, there are setups. And those setups should be taken by the creative shooter. Outside, in short, cocktail area, and indoor, in short, the dinner reception area, should be a part of the establishing shots that the creative shooter needs to do. Now, what is he gonna be bringing? He's gonna be bringing a gimbal, probably. Put it up and down to make a crane shot. Get a wide angle of that. Maybe get a little bit of tighter shot, just to get a little bit more creative and support the story. Support also what the TS have shot a while ago. And probably that's it. Everything else will be ready when the bride and groom arrives. Okay. So, what happens before the first dance? Usually, this is the trick. Your TS and the RS, reaction shooter, always need to have that extra battery in them and that extra SD card in them. Why? This is the part where you are heavily shooting, like from the start, before the entrance of the couple, until a little bit of partying. As a director, you always need to know the path of the couple. Where would they enter? Where would they stop? Where would the first dance be? Because that's how you would position the team. You position the team in a sense that the TS, or the traditional shooter, is looking at the couple directly when they enter, or somewhere that has a long duration of them entering. The reaction shooter is the one who's focused on people's reaction while being able to get the side shot of the couple, just in case for safety. No? You can never only shoot the couple without shooting people, especially their reactions, because it's very important. And so comes the creative shooter, who can sometimes, or most of the time, comes from the back, following the couple, going to the dance floor, and doing their first dance. Now, of course, you would guess that they're using a gimbal as well. But why is it that in all of these workflows, the creative shooter should maximize the gimbal? It is probably because it is very powerful, creative-wise. It has eliminated the use of a dolly, which moves forward and back, left and right, a crane that moves up and down, giving a little bit of space to see everything at the top. And of course, the glide cam and the steady cam, which is its usual purpose. Now you mix all of them, and that comes in one form. And that one form is the gimbal, which could give you the power to shoot with a wide lens or a tight lens, depending on your perspective, and that's very efficient as a cinematographer. First dance comes in, and of course, how do you get creative? You have your tripod who is set to get the safety shots, the mid shots where you're not gonna miss anything. But then the reaction shooter has the capability to shoot the reactions of people at the same time, get creative with tripod or monopod shots for the couple, like being against the light, using the confetti as a foreground. And of course, for the creative shooter, you get this seemingly continuous shot from being in the entrance and then getting them on the dance floor, having that power to get the wide shot and then get close up and then blur everything at the background, make everything look like it's bokeh, and then pull out, get the shot of them kissing at the end of the dance. Now, this is a powerful sequence that you can combine with all three cameras in one take. Speeches are very tricky. Sometimes, if the host or anyone who is speaking is moving around, you're going to have a problem with your 180-degree rule. And that's very hard also in terms of lighting. If you were able to properly light your floor, but then the subject goes out of the frame, goes somewhere else, and then you see the shadows on the faces, what do? This is a gameplay of both the TS and the RS. This is what they do. Both of them connect to one another. One shoots the one who is speaking, and the other shooting the one who is being talked to. For instance, the groomsman or the best man talks to the couple. Now the reaction shooter focuses on the couple, mid-shot. The TS or the main cam focuses on the best man, and whenever there is a chance that they cross together, for instance, the best man goes somewhere to the left of the couple or to the right of the couple, both of them, the shooters, need to have that eye-to-eye contact so that they could switch from each other's position. Not physically, but with their focus. For instance, if the best man goes out of the range of the TS, the reaction shooter becomes the TS, and the TS becomes the reaction. And so they don't destroy the 180-degree rule. They still keep it up, but the audio would be still coming from the TS, and that's fine. So what does the creative shooter do during speeches? He roams around. He looks for potential laughter, potential crying. The creative shooter gets this feel that how could I show that someone who is talking, how could I make him look cool while he is talking? So you use the foreground, you use the people as a foreground, and then him as your subject, and then just move around, giving them that depth of everyone's listening. So games can get crazy sometimes. In the Philippines, you do the games in the evening during reception. For China, some or most of them do their games in the morning. And that's what they call gate crashing. Gate crashing is really fun. It's about the groom trying to get the bride, but is being hindered by the bridesmaids. So he needs his group of groomsmen to help him out and do some games and tasks and eat something crazy, eat something spicy, all this just to get to the bride. Some areas or some countries really don't have games. It's all about the partying, having fun after the dinner reception, and it's a cross-culture of everything. So what do you do during games? If you're the TS, if you're the main cam, of course, you are stuck mostly with the 70-200 because of its versatility in terms of the focal length. And you focus on the host or anyone talking or using the microphone. If during games, it's also the same. If you're the RS, it's also the same, 70-200. It's very powerful, by the way. And focus on the reaction of the guests, whatever activities there are. And if you're the CS, you just give them that perspective. Give them that wide view of what is really happening around them. Because sometimes, if you're a guest, you're just too focused on what you need to do. And so when you're watching videos, you would feel like, oh, this is what happened in entirety during that session or during that game, and you would appreciate it more. We were able to realize the power of a tripod matched with a 70-200 and how good reactions are in terms of the TS and the RS, how you maximize it during reception, especially from the host to the entrance, to the first dance, to the speeches and the games. And so with all of that, you are able to grasp how it could be better in terms of shooting your reception in different angles. I think that's it for now, and we'll see you in the next episode. We're at the reception, and we're going to do the first dance. And I'm going to do first for the creative shots, wherein I'm going to use the 25mm and shoot it on a gimbal and give it a little bit more of the flair for creative shots. And let's try this. And they're trying to approach first and go. Wow, that's really nice. Sometimes they do twirls. Give me a twirl. Yes, that's really good. That's really good. And sometimes you need to anticipate their movements. You need to know if they're gonna do a big move or not, or are they gonna be sweet or not. And so when you get wide shots, you could have options for using the same lens and double the value, so you get a little bit of a tighter shot, or you could just switch to a tighter shot or a telephoto lens to make it look more, even more tighter. But consider this. When did you start shooting? If you think that you're about to switch and it's more than 2 minutes, you might not have enough time to switch a lens because the dance usually runs around 3 minutes and 5 minutes and sometimes even shorter. And maybe after you switched lens, the dance is already done. So what you could do is get one lens, maximize from initial value, double it up to make a tighter version. Or what you could do is, if you think that you have a lens same as mine that has the same weight, you can easily switch in just less than a few seconds, and then you can have another kind of shot with a different kind of lens in a few seconds. Also, when you want to do something creative and it's a prime lens, the focus is very tricky. So what you want to do is focus on the subject first, or any other person that you think has the same distance as what you imagined. Like probably, I wanted a distance from here. Since it's a prime lens, you need to focus, right? And then when you focus, you step back, wait for them to do their move, and then you slowly get in closer until you get the focus, and then maintain that focus while turning around. Okay, let's try this. And I think the couple's gonna start dancing, and you get closer. And if you see that it's focused, then twirl. Amazing. So that's how it's done using one lens. If I were to use the same value, duplicate it, and then do it again while they're dancing, you might need to get a little bit closer. It doesn't mean that you need to be moving the whole time, but since you're creatives, I think that's needed of you because you have static shots from the TS and the RS. And so get the double value of your lens and then do the same thing. At least you have a wide and a tight shot of moving shot, okay? So they're doing waltz. When you double the value, that's where you could see the emotions, the smiling, the laughter. And so when you have that, both of them smiling at each other, and then, oh wow, that's really nice. Laughter more, you can talk to it. Really good, really good. And you get flares. Really nice, okay. Now, guys, can I have you over here? And can I have Sarah facing here and Marco facing here, okay? Sometimes you need to time things. So when they have steps, when they do things, sometimes you would know that at a certain amount of seconds right after that initial start, you would know that they will be positioned here. And where the light is, that's where your creative input could come from. So they're turning, right? They're doing waltz and they're turning clockwise, and at this moment, you know that they're facing against each other, and then the light is facing the both of them, and so you get flares. And then how do you do creative shots with that? So you blur them in. So you just get the subject first, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna move back, and then blur and focus on the both of them while they're smiling at each other. And cut. So what are you gonna do if you're the TS or the main cam when the dance is on? So you need to be the safety, right? You need to be the safety, and so as much as possible, don't be too tight. Avoid being too tight or being too wide. Somewhere mid is usable, is very usable, and could be well connected to the other shots. Because just imagine, creative shots usually has the widest and a little bit of the tight. You could be somewhere in the mid, and the reaction shots could be somewhere with the same frequency as yours, but just a little bit creative and has reactions of other people. So let's try the TS. Somewhere mid. It's important to focus on them. It's important to follow them a little bit. It's those small movements that make it count. You know, when you see them laughing around, when you see them, yes, when you see them, you know, those are the static shots that you need to keep everything balanced. And so the last thing is the RS. RS, or reaction shots, are like the TS, but it could use foregrounds. It could really, really match your shots with the creatives. Okay, so how do you do it? Look at your surroundings and see if there is any foreground that you could use. It could be a setup in the table, especially the center table. You know, anything that's glass, you could use it. Anything that's flowerish, you could use it. You know, because anything that you use with a 70-200 and focusing on the subject over there and your foreground is over here, the foreground looks really nice. What if you have nothing with you, but you're the reaction shooter? And so you find something in your pocket. What is usually in your pocket? It's a phone. And sometimes you use your phone to do reflections. Let's try it. And so, with the RS, you have that privilege to shoot against the light. Like this. So you shoot straight up where the light is, give it a little bit of tightness, like that. You are very, very lucky if you have this kind of light. Okay? So without foreground, here's what it looks like. The couple are dancing. You wait for the actions. You see that? And then when they turn, you focus on the hands, slowly going back to the body and the smiles. And here is the next version where you have the foreground. And so, this is how it looks like if you have a foreground. The material used in foregrounds can also be different. If you have something transparent, it's more likely to be used. If you have something glossy, then it's fine. If you have something matte, then it's going to be very useless because it's not going to reflect anything, okay? But here, I'm trying to use the glossiness of my phone to give a little bit of that dramatic look. And so, when they start dancing, you can move the foreground to make it look very, very interesting. It's like playing with lights while you're shooting. You know, get that reflection, make it work, make it count. You see that if you're shaking your hands because you know if your hands are shaky, then you just need to avoid the light beams because it's gonna look a little shaky as well. Now, if they're gonna do their twirl, it's the same thing, but this time you could see more of those flares moving around because of your foreground. And so, while you're doing that, you also could switch focus to the people behind them so that you could get reactions. You could also shift focus to the parents, you know, and all these people. You just need to make sure that when you shoot them, it's worth the time. Because considering first dances are just short. It could last from a minute to 5 minutes if they're really into it. And so every reaction counts. And you don't want to get reactions that don't have any reactions. So while you're shooting the couple, your eye should be like, who can be the best reaction as of the moment? And so you find a way to include the both of them there. Or if not, you go to the person, get the reaction, take it for 5 seconds or less, and then you go back to your subject, which is the couple. And so that's how it looks like when you're shooting reaction shots on the first dance.